So anyway, I'm going to show a few pictures first, and then I'll read a couple of stories, and then we just reminisce afterwards. So a few pictures just about my family now. This is my wife, Barbara, who has been my rock and probably kept me out of a certain kind of institutions. And a little tongue-in-cheek, but not too exaggerated. This is my son there and his family. They live in York, Nebraska. This is my daughter and her family, and they live about 10 minutes from us in Minnesota. I put this in there because I just thought it was funny. Now, I've showed it to some people, they don't think it's funny, but I don't know if you remember, it seemed like pictures of people in the 40s and 50s, they were always in front of their new car. Do you remember that? I never knew. I mean, we've got all kinds of pictures, people in front of a car. And so I found this picture of my grandmother on my dad's side. They came up from Texas with mules and a wagon train, not a wagon train, but covered wagon. And so I guess this is the early version of a Ford. I don't understand why. I don't know if this is one of those, what do they call the pictures where your high school graduate's a beauty picture, or what is it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That everybody's a glamour picture?
Yeah.
This is my grandmother's glamour picture.
So how did it get in color? That's my question.
Oh, yeah, Bruce, how did it get in color?
Well, now that's a great question. I do not know that, but I'm sure she made that dress, probably out of flour sack prints. And I don't know if I don't know. Anyway, enough on that. But,
I didn't know they had color back then, that's why I.
well, that's a good question. I thought about 1930, but maybe, because I couldn't imagine her with a mule later, but I don't know. This is me, and at an early age, the only reason I put this on, my aunt Doyle and Odell Kennedy, they didn't have children, and I was the apple of Odell's eye, and she bought me that silver buckle. I still have it. This is quite a remarkable picture because I'm trying to find some others, but I hated these pants. I had pants, Levi's with holes in them, and that's what I wanted to wear. I guess I finally submitted. But what cowboy would wear pants like that? Dress pants. I hated it. I was so mad. Oh, they got small out of me. This picture I put on there because it's on the steps of Bill Scott's house, where we lived for about 3 years, and I think I'm pointing a gun there. This is the dog, I believe, in the story called Streak. In the story, I said he was a German Shepherd, but I think this looks more like a collie, so that's probably wrong. This is the dog that apparently was killing chickens and disappeared. You know, you read between the lines how that happens. You know what happens there. He disappeared. I called for him for years. So you can read the story. This is my mother in the middle, dark hair. To her left is Odell. This, again, is the front of the Bill Scott Ranch House where we lived for several years. It's several stories where I pretended to fall through the vent system into the basement, rattlesnake on that front porch, other stories surrounded this house. It was a beautiful house for the time. It had hardwood floors and this heating system went throughout the house. I put this picture of Doyle in there just because, again, the car, right? I suppose it's a new car. And he's dressed up like he's ready to go to town, got the big hat on. This is my folks, and Doyle and Odell are in the middle. This is the place they bought north of Spotted Horse. This is their house on a ranch they had north of Wildcat Store. Okay, this is, I'm getting near the end a little bit. This is a birthday party. And And so some of the children you'll recognize, we've got Carson girls, I believe, down here on the corner. Robert Reed, I was told Randy Bulkley is with the bow tie. There, Mary Jo, closest to the cake up there, and her sister. I'm behind the cattails, and I think I'm mad because I only wanted Randy and the Carsons and Mary Jo to come. My mom said, no, we're not doing that. So I think I purposely, you know, it was one aside. When you reminisce, you find out your memories are different, right? And I'm sure mine are right. But anyway, I think I purposely tried to hide behind those, but not totally. I only put these in here, some of you may know there's a story, my dad got run over by a pickup with a hired man. My dad, we measured the calendar time, not my calendar, but his accident. And so he was busted up terribly, you can read all that, but that's in our house in fall of 60. There's a story about my fat steer running over me, and then the barns, two linked in an L shape back there, the ones that burnt all the sheep up. And the one on the left, you know, it's only, it's a fourth grade at the school, and I just put it in there because I think it's typical of schoolyards here in the 50s or so forth, and I just reminiscing about the beautiful playground equipment we have, and then the beautiful lawn and manicured and all that, and so I'm sure you can identify with the building in the back is a horse barn. So sometimes if kids rode to school, they would ride there. The main memory I have of this, I probably shouldn't tell it, but I grew up swearing a lot from the, you know, fourth grade, 4 years old onward, and didn't think anything of it. This is the first time I was behind the barn and thought about practicing swearing. That was really a turning point. I don't know what that meant in my spiritual development. Anyway, enough on that. But I do remember it, practicing and seeing how these cuss words sounded. And I didn't feel real good about that, but this picture on your upper left is of two horses, obviously, with nose mounted. My dad's on the right, I'm on the left. This horse on the left, with the bald spot on the face, is Candy, and that is a horse, a mare, that Keith Bulkley traded Dad for doing some combining. I think none of us had much money, and I think, the way I remember it, rather than, anyway, he gave us that horse, and then the horse on the right is a mare that was full of candies, and that one is Sugar, and I just won a lot of awards with her. That's me and Sugar again. This is the story, if you read about, this is a pickup, and then we went to a rodeo, and we had nothing to haul them in, but Dad made a stock rack out of sheet panels wired together, and the people felt so bad for us, they said, we got a stock rack. And that's in that story. Anybody know where this is?
4G dance hall.
Or is it 4G? Or
4G.
4G.
Yeah. So on the way back from Montana one time, we stopped and I said, I got to get a picture of this. Remember a lot of dances there. I wouldn't remember my dance at Recluse, and we were just running an outside wild, and I must have been a very conscientious child or something. We're running around there, and I'm thinking, you know, this is nuts. There are no parents paying any attention. They don't even know what we're out there doing out here. I was probably 5, so very deeply conscientious, but anyway, lots of fun. Anybody guess where that is? Of course, it's given away. I just had to do that. Uncle Doyle took me down there for Coke one day, so it's quite a course. I left this one, I think it may be the last one. Gap School, this would have been in the fall of 58, or spring of 58. My mother was the teacher. I thought a great teacher, and she had the parents make these band costumes, and I hated it. What cowboys would be in a band, this kind of band anyway, and I was further mad because I didn't want the dumb triangle. I wanted something else, but she wouldn't bend, and so I've given little arrows. I think the one on the far left, blue, or maybe the other one under blue was Colleen Wolfe. And then Jerry Swanson with the red, Joe Hitt with the black, and Carrie Rourke with the yellow. She's the band leader. And so anyway, first grade was very hard for me because I was an only child and I was the smartest one in the house. My wife kind of, or not my wife, my mom kind of unintentionally reinforced that because she was very encouraging. I got to first grade and I wasn't the smartest one. It was unbelievable. It was a cruel thing. Jerry Swanson was unbelievable in math. Joe, I think spelling and reading and maybe some other things. He was kind of all around good in everything. And there were a smattering of others. And so I was about third or fourth high in this class of 7. It was a hard year. So I guess that's it. Okay, fine. Okay, so all that, I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at that. Just some preliminary comments about this, and then I'll read 2 or 3 stories and we'll just have time to chat. So I wrote this book called Close Calls for my grandchildren. I didn't imagine being asked to read it. It took about 2 years. I had very low expectations for writing because all my training is in the sciences and theology. And also because writing has changed over the years. I didn't know how much it changed, but it was very difficult. I've had as much fun following the publishing as I can remember, just reminiscing with friends. I used to feel very sorry for these old guys at the gas station. They had a checkerboard on top of a 50-gallon barrel, and they're just talking endlessly. I thought, that is so sad. And that'll never happen to me. And it has. And what I didn't know was how much fun it would be. I've talked with hours with people about the good old days, and then we talk about funny stories, tragic stories. I have a good friend of mine, we tell the same stories over and over again. Some of them are a little crude, and our wives just roll their eyes and leave. So it's fun. So anyway, I'm really delighted to be with you here today. I'm thankful for Karen and Heather and others that have helped me, Marilyn, along this. I wanted to say one other thing. You may be inclined to writing, but generally, for some of it, it's very difficult. But what I would encourage you, there are easier ways to do this than writing a book. And there's even programs, apps that you can get. One is called Storyworth. In other words, Tell Me Your Story. You can just go online and find these. And what they do is they set everything up for you, and then they'll send you a question. You write a story a day. Doesn't have to be long. And then you can insert pictures in it. You do this for a year, and at the end, you publish this thing and give it to your children and grandchildren. So pretty easy to do, I think. The other thing is, I would encourage you, I didn't do it with my dad. I wish I had. He was a World War II veteran, and they just didn't talk much about it. He was a tail gunner in a B-25 in the Philippines. Most of the stories I have, they were pulling some pranks. A few songbird stories, but not many, and I wish I would have dove into that a little bit more. So just think about that. Even if you don't want to write, get together with people and just have them record. Get a tape recorder, and I transcribed mine, but you could get somebody to transcribe them. So I just wanted to encourage you in that. So I had to be selective on how many stories to read here. I'll try 2 or 3. And Let's see which one. I want to do the one called, we'll start with the one called chicken education. I get quite a bit of feedback that one on that one. Let's see. Yeah. I had no fondness for chickens. I thought no self-respecting rancher would have chickens. I hated them because they would peck your hand when you tried to retrieve the eggs lying underneath them. Gathering the eggs was a miserable chore, but my dad insisted it was my job, clearly an important part of growing into a man. He assured me that the pecking didn't hurt much. I suspected he felt little pain because his skin was tough, or he whacked the hen on the head to stun her before he grabbed the eggs. Sure enough, when the hens pecked me, it really hurt. The hens became my enemies. It turned out that revenge and entertainment went hand in hand. Growing up on a ranch, I envisioned myself as a cowboy, of course, like everyone else in the neighborhood. Part of being a cowboy included the ability to rope and ride. Since I wasn't riding a horse yet, I decided I should prepare for the glorious day when I could ride the range. I got a piece of rope, bashed it into a lariat. I think it was probably a piece of clothesline, I think. I began to practice on the chickens. Roping a chicken is difficult. They're fast and they can turn on a dime. Even when my loop went around their neck, they usually ran through it before I could jerk it tight. The more loops I threw and the more chickens escaped, the angrier I became. I became particularly enraged when I had a chicken cornered in the hen house and she escaped through a hole in the wall, clearly cheating. I remember that like that was yesterday. The chickens were uncooperative, impertinent, and arrogant. By their cackling, I could tell they were mocking me. They had to be taught a lesson. I heard a feed salesman tell my mom at the kitchen table while drinking coffee that a cure for pecking hens involved taking them to the water trough and holding their heads under the water for a bit. Even at 4 years of age, I couldn't understand how chickens could be smart enough to connect the dots. A hot dog or horse, yes, maybe, but not a stupid chicken. However, I took the idea away. I don't remember if it was a roping day, a being pecked day, or random day. I remember it was a sunny afternoon. I decided it was way past time to begin the education curriculum for the mean-spirited chickens. I grabbed the chicken out of the chicken house, took her 100 feet to the livestock water trough, put her head under the water for a few seconds. She flapped her wings in defiance, clawed at me with her feet. To further impress upon her the necessity of submission, I held her head under the water until she stopped struggling. Good. Lesson learned. Education complete. I lifted her head from the water and released her. She simply collapsed on the ground. I thought, okay, she'll get up after further reflection. The plan is working. I'll teach a few more. I repeated the class instructions with three more chickens, with the same result. I soon realized the hens weren't reflecting on what happened, but rather that I may have been overly zealous in my tutorage. I feared I might not have 4 graduates, but 4 dead chickens on my hands. That would be a loss of income. It would also have implications for my behind. My parents taught me to always tell the truth. They said that if I told the truth, it would be better for me than if they caught me in a lie. After contemplating a chicken burial or tossing them in a dry creek bed, I decided the best course of action was to tell my mom. Maybe she could even revive the chickens, so I trudged to the house. When I got there, I told my mom to come to the livestock tank. I walked as slowly as possible to the murder scene. Seeing the dead chickens, she asked what happened. Thinking quickly, I recalled and repeated the advice from the feed salesman. Assuming I was about to receive instruction on the seat of my pants, I braced myself. I don't remember her facial expression or what she said. It was hard to tell if she was trying to control her anger or trying not to laugh. I wondered if she was considering a way to let me off the hook. To my surprise, she blamed the feed salesman. This made little sense based on the ethics ingrained in me, but I didn't disagree. Somehow mercy had prevailed over judgment. Over the years, Mom repeatedly told the story to the neighbors and relatives to show how cute I was. I didn't want the story to get out. I didn't think I was cute. I thought I was carrying out justice. However, from the episode, I learned there are times to extend grace in parenting. So I've had people tell me they remember those days. Well, let me read this one for fun. So we have someone in the audience that is part of this story. I didn't put things about any of you or anybody around here that would shame. And in South Dakota, I changed the names. Although, you don't need to know the people's names, I think. If you know the story, you know who it is out there, for that county. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is a short one. A neighbor family had 3 daughters. I'll let you guess who these were. Well, I might even have a name in there one. The youngest daughter was my age, 4. I felt conflicted when our mom set a play date for us. On the one hand, I feared my male friends would tease me if they knew I played with a girl. Sorry. So I hoped they wouldn't find out. On the other hand, she was nice and fun. I wanted to impress her. But how do I impress? I thought that difficulty and danger would suffice. I looked around the farmyard and spotted an A-shaped chicken coop. It was 6 feet high, peaked and covered with tin roof. I decided to demonstrate my prowess and courage. The climb was difficult, but because the only thing to grasp was the side of the roof. Somehow, with every ounce of balance I could summon, I made it to the top. Now to show creativity. The slide down the tin roof on the other side would display my playful side. I sat down on the peak and pushed off. Immediately, I began feeling a stinging pain in my butt. What on earth was happening? First, I thought it was bees or wasps. There was no time to think. In 2 seconds, my feet hit the ground. I turned towards the coop to see who or what had played such a cruel trick on me. I asked Mary Jo, what happened? She didn't know. I examined the shed more closely. I saw the culprits. The heads of nails protruded slightly above the tin, just enough to rip my pants and tear into my behind. In pain and furious, I ran into the house to tell Mom. She asked what happened. She took me into the bedroom to see my injuries. Mary Jo started to follow behind. She was sympathetic, but I yelled at her to get out. I felt conflicted. I didn't want her to see my bare bottom, but I wish she could see the terrible injuries. What to do? Maybe Mom would give her a full report. My mom looked at the scratches and declared they weren't so bad. The scratches burned and felt like they were an inch deep. My dad came into the house for a coffee break, and I asked for his appraisal and hopefully his sympathy. Normally, Dad was less sentimental than Mom, but she was so callous towards my suffering, I had to seek pity from somebody. True to course, my dad didn't think my scratches merited the agony I displayed. Without a close examination, he told me I'd be fine. I could not believe that both my parents were so callous. I continued to cry. My mom said I could stay in the bedroom until I quit crying. And so insult heaped on injury. I hated them all. Well, maybe not Mary Jo. I better get that. I need to rewrite that. Let me do that now. I hated my parents. I had 2 choices. Let's see. I thought surely my mom in a short time would relent and come back in, bind my wounds and pamper. She did. I had 2 choices: stay in the bedroom and grieve, or come out and make the best of the day with Mary Jo. I chose the latter. However, I pouted the rest of the day. No one noticed. Surprisingly, the pain ceased within a few hours. The discomfort vanished the next day. I was bitter. that Mom and Dad's assessments were correct. So, my apologies to Mary Jo. Maybe one more. Okay, yeah, okay. This also, oh, I don't know if I said, after I was invited here to speak, then what stories, and I began looking, and many of them, there must be 8 to 10 were, happened here in Campbell County before we moved. And so I thought I probably should have reread Humor and Hard Knocks on the Wyoming and Dakota plains. So there was more than I realized. Let's see here. This one had happened at the Scott Ranch, Bill Scott Ranch too. There was a crowd, I guess the barn was gone. There was a barn with hay loft, and then the foundation is built out of those, these volcanic rocks. And so I won't read the whole chapter, just the backdrop is that we went to a rodeo, I think my first rodeo somewhere, Doyle and Odell and my parents and I went, and they were having calf riding in it. And so Doyle and my dad wanted to know if I wanted to be in calf riding, and I didn't know what that was, but it sounded like a terrible idea. Uncle Doyle, they didn't have children, so I think he took everything out on me. He pushed me for that. The women were sympathetic, said, no, you don't have to, you don't have to. And then there's this conflict, they're having arguments, and then I'm caught between being a real man and risking death to being wise and not risking death. And I didn't. Well, so Uncle Doyle decides that I need to toughen up a little bit and get more practice calf riding, so at the next rodeo I'm ready to go. So here's what happened. My Uncle Doyle, who didn't have children, and my dad decided I need to get better acquainted with calf riding, so I'd be ready at the next rodeo. This meant some practice sessions at home. The first practice session was in a small corral, 40 feet across. The lower level of the barn formed one side of the corral. It consisted of dark reddish-brown rocks with jagged edges. The rocks appeared to be the remains of volcanic activity. These rocks were common in Wyoming and often used in small walls, porches, and foundations of buildings. Another side of the corral was a 7-foot high wall built from the same rock with an attached wooden hay rack. The standard construction of wooden boards and posts comprised the other 2 sides of the corral. I didn't like the looks of the arena. My uncle insisted there was nothing to worry about. My dad didn't offer any opinion. Reluctantly, I agreed to the insanity. They caught the milk cow's calf, brought him out of the barn, got a piece of rope to tie around his girth for me to hang on to, bull rope, and set me on the calf, turned him loose. I hoped the calf would run, not buck, towards the wooden fence. Then I would purposely fall off into the dirt. You can see what my mind swirled, right? All this stuff happening. So I would purposely fall off into the dirt or manure, into the middle of the corral, escape my charms, satisfy these nut jobs. Somehow, which is still a mystery to me, I stayed on the calf instead of running to the fence. He ran in the hay rack alongside the sharp-edged rock. My right shoulder hit the wall with minimal damage. The calf ran into the haystack towards the barn. I thought of several strategies in a matter of a second as my life passed before my eyes. Bailing out seemed like a good option. There were hay rack boards on one side, sharp rocks on the other. I decided that getting some slivers was better than dashing my head against the demonic rocks. So I let go of the rope and fell towards the boards, remarkably only getting a scratch. My Uncle Doyle wanted to know why I had given up so easily. I pointed out the rocks and the threat to life. He scoffed and said the rocks were soft, and I was a weenie to be afraid of them. My dad offered no opinion. I don't remember if my dad and uncle swore me to secrecy about the rodeo or not. Naturally, I had to tell my mom. She was furious and thoroughly chewed out my dad and uncle. They offered no rationale for the excursion. They just looked sheepish. I felt like a tattletale. Still, I felt the craziness had to be confronted. I thought telling my mom about the stupidity of the adults would be a comfort, but it wasn't. This was my initiation into rough stock events, and then the story goes on. And then at the end, I mentioned a story about being at a potluck, and a rancher's wife and I are reminiscing. We've been friends for years, and so we were talking about our childhood. And, you know, the dangers we faced, and our parents would send us out to, you know, bring a bull out of a herd of cows, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. The bull gets on the bike, knocks you down, it could be bad. We didn't have guards over our power takeoffs, and just don't wear pants that have, you know, straggly things on them, they'll tear off your leg, you know, that was instructions. And on it goes. And so I'm talking about that, and I said, you know, I wouldn't let my grandkids do some of the stuff my parents had me doing. And I'm expecting, you know, I'm in Minnesota where everybody's kind, right? Minnesota nice, and, you know, empathetic, and so that's what I'm expecting, to let her say, oh, you're right, you know, they were crazy, our parents were nuts. And she says, well, you know, you can't keep them in cotton forever. And I just thought, you know what, I'm back with my people. It's people that grow up on the plains and the ranches and prairies and blizzards, it just brings a certain sturdiness. I won't say hardness because that might sound harsh, but you know, we just get up and go again. And so it's kind of, I always enjoy being back in western South Dakota, where I grew up, and telling stories and having stories. And here, you know, I feel at home. I sometimes tell my wife, she grew up more in town, and so she doesn't quite understand all this. She says, you go do your thing. And I say, I'm going out to my people, you know, kind of like you're going out to your tribe, and where they understand me out there. She does. So anyway, thank you. We can reminisce. I'll sign some books. We're going to have a little card. I'm a little hard of hearing, and so we're going to have you print your name on the card so I don't misspell it when I write it in the book. Karen's got some cards. And, you know, we'll continue talking. Maybe I'll just open and see if you have a question or comment or anything. I was sort of fascinated one time after I just read a couple of stories. One about the chickens killing. No, I didn't read that today. It was about harvesting, killing chickens, and terrible. And there were people about the same age as this group, and there was just a buzz afterwards about they'd all had this occasion where you wring the chicken's neck and then you boil in the water, and it's just this terrible smell. And then the chicken's running around. My one friend said, I remember that, and the chicken started after me. I went out and said, I ran out in the cornfield to get away from it. So there's a lot of, I don't know, you may have not had that experience, but I was surprised at how many people my age have had that experience. And the reason many of us are now in therapy. So Bob, anything, it doesn't have to be anything, but yes.
Is the Scott House still standing?
I understand it is. You know, Mary Jo, still standing. I understand the barn is gone.
Yeah.
Maybe it burned down, but the house is still there. I drove by out there, but I couldn't. It all changed up. I didn't recognize it. I looked for it, but I didn't see it.
A lot of things changed.
It's pretty run down, doesn't look like it did.
Pardon?
It gets run down pretty bad, it doesn't look like it did.
Okay. I mean, I don't know when the thing was built, but we thought it was the nicest house we'd ever lived in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine, thanks for your patience. I'll sign books. I've never done this before, so, hopefully I'll still have my name in your name. Oh, and give a hand to the audio and tech people. They rescued me today
Yeah.
because I didn't bring the right connectors.
And there's a few refreshments